Hey guys, Moose here. We are back with another episode of Stonehearth in our Rise Children playthrough. And today is Sunday, February 5th, 2017, of course. However, a year ago today, XCOM 2 was released. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. Not directly XCOM 2, but things related to that. As far as I understand it, XCOM 2 was an extraordinarily well-received game. Seemed to be very good, based on what everyone has said. However, I never played it. So, I maybe don't have the best input on the actual game of XCOM 2 itself, but I did play Enemy Unknown, the reboot of XCOM, and actually, what I really want to talk about is I played the original XCOM. Not when it first came out, obviously, but a little bit after the fact, like maybe 5-10 years ago. Played it on my laptop when I was in college. It was a fantastic game. What am I looking for here? No, I want to go to building design, decorations. Here we go. It's a really fun game. I enjoyed it a great deal. You know what? Maybe I want to do this after the fact, because it's going to be really hard to tell where to place things. Or do I just leave it bare? Maybe I do windows. You know what? It'd be cool to have some windows. Yeah, that looks good. Sorry, I'm going to be counting a little bit here. So there's 4 of those. There are 2 off the ground. 2 off the wall. There we go. So yeah, I actually, you know what, based on everything that I know, I didn't beat Enemy Unknown, and I haven't even played XCOM 2, but I think I prefer the original. And kind of the reason for that, I don't know, like the new ones feel... The old one feels like I don't have to care about it, kind of, like it's... I don't know, maybe it's easier. Maybe that's why. You know what? No, it's not easier. I feel like the engagements in XCOM are too long. Like, I want missions to be over quicker than they are, at least in Enemy Unknown. And I felt like they were a bit quicker, or at least they felt quicker in the original. By the way, I didn't play Terror from the Deep or anything like that, but it'd be very, very cool. Like, that would be... I don't really have any particular desire to play XCOM 2, but if they release something that was... This is stupid. Come on, guys. Go home. But if they released Terror from the Deep DLC kind of situation, I'd play the shit out of that. No question. I would love to see what that winds up being like. That'd be very cool, in my opinion. Alright, I think we need to focus the target here. That's really the issue. Yeah, focus this guy down. Kill him, please. There we go. And there's one more left right here. Once that guy's toast. They got it. Okay, cool. Yeah, I'd really love to play some Terror from the Deep. It seemed very, very cool. But the other thing that I really liked about the original over the new ones is the new ones are a little bit more sanitized, I think. The old one... Yeah, I'll take it. The old one had, like, you'd go into the alien ship and there'd be like a partially dissected cow in the ship. And it was just this great, like, weird... You know, what you'd expect from aliens. Where they're, like, learning about humans and fucking with us. And, you know, yeah, it's a trope that aliens fuck with cows, whatever. But I enjoyed it. I thought it was not funny, but, like, unnerving. In a very, very similar way to, another game that I've never played, Prey. Which I watched some stuff about, and it had, like, a set piece, kind of, where humans were basically being rendered into whatever. I don't know. Okay, that's the correct spacing. So like a human would come down, that's the wrong spot, would like come down on this whatever processing line, whatever you want to call it, and then get like the arms would get cut off or ripped off or something, and then like the rest of him would be squished, or I forget what they did in it. Really, really unnerving. I did not feel good seeing that when I was watching someone play Prey. And that was extremely unnerving. And you know what? That feeling belongs in that kind of game, I feel. So it's good to see that. As much as it's kind of gross and not perfect, not really good. Doesn't feel good to see that. It kind of belongs there. It creates an atmosphere that makes sense. Like, I feel like that's something that was missing from the reboots to XCOM. I think we're done here. I could put some more stuff around the outside, but I think getting it built right now is the important thing. The structure is all where we want it to be, so get that started. Fantastic. Could use some more housing too, but I don't really know where I want to put that. I could put it here. Yeah, sure. What the hell? No, you know what? We'll let him build the castle first, but housing will come next for sure. So yeah, I'm really like, I feel like the reboot to XCOM was really missing that really unnerving, like, they say, you know, that, think of it this way. The subtitle or whatever that you want to call, whatever you want to call it, to the reboot to XCOM was Enemy Unknown, right? At no point did I ever really feel like the enemy was unknown. There was no craziness, right? It was, okay, well that's a sectoid. I know about those. Okay, that's a... You know, the Thin... I didn't really like the Thin Men, because they were... It made sense thematically. Like, I understand why they were in there. It made perfect sense, but at the same time, they're not scary. They're just reptilian men. It was a lot more scary to have like a vicious rat like snake thing, and I get why it was in there, and I know they put them in there in XCOM too. That's fine. They have tits, so that's okay, but you know, they're there at least. But that was like like even the floaters in the original XCOM I prefer, where they seem to be bulkier, and they're like it's like a horrific, like, hey, this is a normal creature, but we cut off its lower half and we put it like a bulb there, and that lets them fly. That's kind of like horrifying in its own way, which is how it should be. So that, I was looking for more of that kind of thing, I guess, from XCOM, and I feel like it just didn't quite deliver to what I was looking for. Still a very good game, the reboot and XCOM 2. I just wish it was creepier, basically, I guess. But the problem is, instead of it being like like the original XCOM didn't really have to go into too much detail. And I think when you're writing a story, particularly a story that's supposed to be, let's say, either horrifying or at least unnerving, the more detail you give, the less scary it is. And I feel like in the past, when you had like a DOS game, which is what XCOM, the original XCOM was, I believe, it's much easier to leave those things blank and kind of force the player to fill things in for themselves, because that was, you know, to an extent, a limitation of the medium at the time. You couldn't have things like cutscenes, and, you know, there were no voice actors for these games, and et cetera, et cetera. It was much harder to convey complex stuff like you can today, and like something like The Witcher 3, and that's where they have complex storytelling done really well. But I don't think that's what a game like XCOM needs. I think XCOM thrives much more off of the unknown. I mean, it's right there in the name, and I would much rather see more fear, more anxiety, more... It's not necessarily about the game being hard, but I think it would be nice to have, like, Maybe the bright mechanic would be there's permadeath for sure. Obviously, you have that as things are, and it should stay there. But what if they did... Well, they did it with XCOM 2, I think. Did they have the ability to have a particular person get captured in XCOM Enemy Unknown? I don't know if they did. But it'd be really cool if they, like, if that happened, and, like, if you take it a step further, maybe, I don't know, maybe they did this in XCOM 2, where if you, like, don't get to them fast enough, there's experimentation that's done on them, and they're, like, changed and or damaged, and it's basically like you roll a dice on some table that says, well, the aliens did this, that, and the other thing to them, so now they have this ability, but they suck at this, or they're terrified. They panic every time they see a certain variety of enemy. Just weird little thing, like quirks, little quirks to develop to give the game a little bit more substance, because then you have this fear of like, oh shit, if this happens, I'm so screwed. Oh, but, you know, the terror. I want the terror. That's really what I'm looking for out of the game. We really need more storage. I gotta get this built. Sorry about that. Still kind of early. Still pretty tired here. Yeah, we really need that storage, man. Hopefully this will get built quickly, but it doesn't look like that's what's happening here. Even this, I don't know if we're... Even if we made all these for food, I don't know. It would probably be enough. Is any of these empty? Yeah, you know what? We can do it that way. Yeah, there you go. Let them put food in that one, because they can probably move some of the crap here over to that one. We still have chests over here anyway that they can put things in, so forcing them to use that would be nice. But yeah, I really, like, there's no game that really does what the original XCOM did for me. And don't get me wrong, I'm bringing up the negatives and what I wish I could get out of XCOM and XCOM 2, but the only reason I'm even bringing them up is because they're the reasons that I haven't played Enemy Unknown and XCOM 2 as much as maybe I should. It's just it doesn't scratch that itch that I'm looking for it to scratch, unfortunately. Even though they're both superb games. So, that's personal opinion. But I really... Ooh, no, that's wrong. I meant 10. No, I meant 5, not 50. I wish it was 50, but no, I can only make 5. Yeah, I feel like that's a really good setting to do that in too, because by setting I don't mean aliens. By setting I mean, like, we're at a stone, aren't we? By setting I mean it makes sense to do it that way, because it's easier to get like a real fear, a real sense of dread and nervousness and anxiety out of a turn-based game, because you're forced to not do jump scares, and I think that's an important detail. Is this going to break everything again because I'm designating too much stuff to mine? I have a feeling it is. Who's fighting? You guys fighting? Yes, you are. Okay. We can go play with you. That's fine. I'm worried that these guys, they're gonna beeline to my base as soon as this is done. Because if they do, I gotta change where I'm running to. Yeah, okay. That should be fine. As long as they're actually following orders, and they're not. Okay. Okay. I fucked up. Shouldn't have designated that stuff to mine, clearly. Remove. Fine. Yeah, they'll run home. This is okay. That's not a person, right? Okay, good. Military is not doing their job. No, okay, now we're good. Alright, you guys are free to run around now. But yeah, doing a game that makes you nervous, and I think Darkest Dungeon does an effective job of this as well. Putting it in a game that's not just simply... I thought that guy was dead. Not an action game, not a real-time game of any variety, just a turn-based game, I think is a really good style or setting to use for that type of entertainment, because it's... Think of it as a crutch for the writers that they can't just rely on jump scares and things, and it forces them to consider more interesting ways of making the player uncomfortable and scaring the player. And I think that's something that's sorely missing, and I think generally if you're talking about a game made by a company, I feel like the majority of the time someone above the writer, someone above the developer would start saying, well, yeah, you could do that and make it good and make it scary, but on the other hand, I've got a deadline I gotta meet, so just do it. And that seems, when I say just do it, I mean just put in some jump scares to make it better. And maybe the timing is good to talk about that, because we got Resident Evil that just came out recently, Resident Evil 7. Really good horror. Didn't rely on jump scare. Well, yeah, it did. It totally did, actually. Like, it didn't do it to a degree. It wasn't super cheap. Like, it wasn't jump scares that immediately disappear. It was more just being surprised by enemies was like a constant thing in that game. Which is, I don't know. I don't like it, but at the same time, it's not like they cut corners on atmosphere, I guess. I think they did a really good job with that game's atmosphere, so I can't complain too much. But, yeah. It's an interesting subject. It was like the third or fourth time I've talked about what I think horror writing involves and how to do it properly, and how interesting it is to put together a good story and good environment with really strong atmosphere and evoking emotions of dread and fear in the reader or the player. It's really enjoyable. And I think you can make someone... There's certain emotions that you can trigger in someone very easily. I guarantee I could piss someone off. No problem. Like, it would not be a challenge to make someone angry with writing or with speaking. I do it regularly, believe me. But some of the other emotions or feelings that you can get from written medium particularly, it's a lot harder to get that reaction. And I think horror and dread and fear is one of the ones that's really, really interesting to try and figure out how to evoke that emotion. I enjoy thinking about it a great deal, and, you know, maybe one day I'll try and write something, but mainly I just like thinking about it right now, because I'm not nearly good enough to practice what I preach, so to speak. So I gotta keep thinking about it, maybe try writing some things, throw a few hundred of them away, and see where I get to. Because maybe eventually I can get good. And that would be a great deal of fun. It'd be nice to be... Not necessarily a writer. Writing for games would be cool. Like, writing a script for a game would be nice. But I don't really... I don't know, like... Is there really... If you're a game development company, would you care? Because I think it's kind of similar to ideas, right? Because really, you could just pick up a writer and have them write for whatever setting you put together that fits your game better. Ugh, sorry about that. Man, I'm always yawning. I apologize. It's just, you know, I've complained about my workload and not getting enough sleep enough. You guys get the idea. Getting better. Another error. No, I'm sure it's fine. Yeah, you know, it's a weekend, so I'll try and get a lot more sleep this weekend, but it never seems to work out that way. But yeah, I'd love to basically what I was getting at is I don't... Correct me if I'm wrong, but no one ever like goes to a video game development company and is like, hey, I got this great story, I'm gonna pitch you on it. I mean, I'm sure it's happened before, but it can't happen often. Because it seems like if you're a development company, there's one of two scenarios. Let's just very much generalize development and say either you're developing starting from mechanics or you're developing starting from story and setting. Excuse me, sorry about that. If it's story, you're gonna be starting with basically an IP that you have already, probably. Most of the strength in those kinds of games comes from the IP itself rather than from the individual product, and you can see that with probably something like Final Fantasy. You know, if you made a Final Fantasy game that wasn't branded Final Fantasy, it wouldn't sell nearly as well, not even remotely close. But then on the other side, you have mechanics-driven games, and that's more where you see new titles flourish. And they can have good stories, and that can be a major selling point well after the game has come out and for future titles. But you don't really start out there. So I feel like when you're developing a new game, you're usually looking at mechanics more than story. And for a more established game, you might look at story. But again, the thing is, I'm pulling this all completely out of my ass, and I don't actually know. This is what makes sense when I think about it, so that's what I assume is probably at least in the ballpark of how things work. Could be totally wrong. I don't really know, but it seems logical enough that that's probably similar to how it works. But anyway, that is going to have to do it for today's episode, so thank you very much for watching. Just to recap, we talked about XCOM today. XCOM 2 came out 1 year ago today, February 5th, 2016. And we talked a lot about horror and stuff, so thank you very much for watching. Don't know why I recapped the topic there, you just watch the video so you know what we talked about. It's been a long day, okay? Give me a break. I'm stupid, I know I'm stupid. Sometimes I say things that are stupid, and I'm sure if you've watched any of my videos you're well aware of that, so I apologize, but anyway, thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed the episode, and I hope you'll join us for the next one as well. Take care.